Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Warp Ring Podcast. This is a new podcast we're making. I'm Tango, and she is...
Plague!
This Plague. So, this is a new podcast idea I've had for a series in which we read the Sonic Archie Comics, and if we get that far, eventually the new comics. I mean, that's really long off, so probably never gonna happen. But anyway, so... I did read the comics. I read through all of them back in like 2011 or something like that, and then they had the whole. Well, actually, I won't spoil, but something happened, and then I was like, yeah, you know what, whatever, and I gave up. And then I didn't really read after that, but I still remember a lot of things, but I don't remember everything about what happens. But she is not a Sonic fan and has never cared about Sonic, never played a Sonic game really. She played one level of Sonic Adventure
2.
One Sonic.
Just the
Adventure.
first one?
She doesn't even know which one has the whale in it.
It has the orca in the beginning and it chases you, and that's literally the only thing
She only knows how to play that level. She's never played any other level of any Sonic game ever.
I played some of Sonic Colors.
She played Sonic Colors a little bit. And she refuses to play any other Sonic game with me, so...
I don't want to play Sonic.
She doesn't want to play the two-player mode of Shadow the Hedgehog with me. People like it, apparently. I don't know.
Who am I?
So she's coming into this totally blind. She watched one episode of Sad I Am the other day. You know, the cartoon that was on Pluto?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So...
you're going into this completely blind. Not only do you not know anything about the comic, you don't know anything about the franchise.
Yep.
Except there's Sonic, there's
Tails,
there's Tails, there's random characters. And this entire cast on the front here, this is completely, totally unknown up to this point. Well, in the episode of Sad I Am that we watched, basically the only character around was Sally.
Yeah, there was only Sally.
There was only Sally. And
then past Sonic and past Sally and his grandpa.
And his grandpa or whatever. Or Uncle Chuck. I think it was Uncle Chuck. So anyway, she knows basically nothing. But so the basic outline of this is that the Sonic Archie Comics was created as a tie-in to that series. But it was made when that series was still in development. So that's why we have things like Sally looks completely different. This guy has a different name, but we'll touch on that later.
Okay, Boomer.
Okay, Boomer. And,
That's all I could keep thinking of. Like, okay, Boomer.
So, what we did was we read the first 4 issues because we have the Sonic Archives Volume 1, Rest in Peace. And, I was going to have her read only the first issue, but she thought that the first issue meant the whole entire book, so... She read the whole entire book, so we're doing the whole entire book.
All 4 volumes.
But it does make sense because it all kind of blends together, you know. It's all kind of the same kind of concept, you know. So right off the bat, I have a couple questions for you about this series. How do you feel so far about what you've read, just in most general terms, before we get into specifics?
You're kind of thrown into this thing where, like...
You have no idea what's going on.
Suddenly there's this guy named Robotnik, and there's a bunch of robots, and he wants to murder these animals living in Not Hole. The Knot Hole.
Yeah, in the forest.
In the forest,
and you
underground.
know practically nothing about what's going on.
And you know nothing about any of this, and you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stupid-ass puns. So one thing actually is that I didn't have you read was there was a 3-issue miniseries before this. That was basically an introduction, and there's a gag later on that only makes sense if you've read that, so you were probably a little confused. But we'll get to that. And that it more kind of sets up, you know, there's the whole Robotnik takes over the world thing. That was kind of set up in there, but I don't really think it's that important because if you just know the basic conceit of Sad AM, then you'll get it. So the conceit of Sad AM, the basic plot is that basically everyone in the world has been roboticized. They're all robots who are slaves to Robotnik. Robotnik's taken over the world, essentially, or at least taken over this region of the world. And he rules with an iron fist, and he has an underling named Snively, who has not appeared in the comic yet.
Yeah,
but he will appear at some point.
You see Crab Meat.
Crab Meat is his main ally at this point. And I think that maybe they didn't know what tone the TV series was going to go off of, because the tone of the TV series, while it does have definitely has its comedic and lighthearted moments, is overall kind of dour. You know, it's kind of it's more of a darker edge to Sonic. It's not grim dark. It's still TVY7 level, but you know, it takes itself a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, this has just jokes all the time. They break.
It's like a total.
They break the fourth wall a lot.
Yeah. And
it's like, oh, this comic is still named Sonic the Hedgehog, right?
Yeah. Where am I? Yeah, it's
Oh yeah, and then they're making it. Yeah.
In Sad I Am, yeah. So Robotnik's taking over the world, and basically all that's left is these group of teenagers, and I think he's like 10 or something, 9, 8, 7, I don't know.
He's
whatever
a lot
Tails
more
is.
serious in this than any game and stuff I've seen Tails in.
Tails is less of a child.
Yeah, he's less of an infant baby child.
Yeah, so, and then this is your main cast. We have Princess Sally. You've noticed that she's referred to as Princess Sally. She's the princess.
Why?
Of the land. Of Mobius.
She's
the princess, but you know, Robotnik took over, so she's still the princess. It's not changed, but she's not in control anymore. And then there's the king, but we don't know anything about that yet. Something that was in Sad I Am, but isn't around in the comics yet. Spoilers. But anyway, yeah, there's a group of friends, and then that's it. They're the Freedom Fighters, and they live in Knothole, which is a secret underground base that they hang out in to get away from Robotnik.
All the animals are living down there. Well, and not all.
Everybody lives down there, and that's pretty much it. That's the whole storyline, and so it's kind of a grim, dark scenario. It's almost kind of like Sonic Forces, you know, where Sonic. In Sonic Forces, I'm pretty sure like Sonic isn't around, and then Robotnik just takes over the world, where Eggman takes over the world, and then it's kind of darker in tone because they have to fight the resistance against the evil regime or whatever. But yeah, so when this starts, we have a tone that's much more similar to. If you want to grab the Sonic thing there. Why are you doing that? Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, which also has this Sad I Am Robotnik here, which is not in the series on this End Circle DVD. Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, which is a lot more lighthearted, a lot more slapstick, goofier. Arguably, you could say the Robotnik in that series is actually more threatening, because he is like a total comedic, and he's like the best part of the show because he's so funny. But he actually does manage to be kind of threatening.
Yes, your obtuseness.
And in this, so far in the comic, Robotnik is a total joke. Like, he's a comedy villain. He doesn't do anything. He's just a goofball. And yeah. So my second question was going to be, how do you feel about the tone of this series? Like, what do you think the tone is? But obviously, we've established that it's comedic, lighthearted, very goofy, very jokey,
breaking the fourth wall,
not taking anything seriously.
Book. Oh, he already has to be this show off by the third panel.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
And yeah, so this is your introduction to all these different characters. So at this point, we don't really have a firm basis to determine what any of these characters really are. I mean, we have Tails, who's sidekick, I guess.
He doesn't show up that much.
He doesn't do that much. He hasn't done that much so far. But he's around. He's kind of just like Sonic's younger brother, basically. Well, we have Sonic, who, Sonic. He's Sonic. He's the cocky hero he's gonna be kind of a brat, and he's gonna say the one-liners, and he's gonna be a goof, but he's gonna come in and save the day. And he has a little bit of an edge to him, but you know, in a 90s totally radical kind of way, not in an edgy kind of way. So, whatever. And then Sally's the girl.
She's the princess girl who says things.
She's just a girl. And then Boomer here is, I guess, he's the mechanic.
Apparently, yeah. He's the
inventor.
He's kind of smart.
Which is the character that Tails normally has. Yeah. Nowadays is the inventor, but he's the inventor. Well,
Boomer's not around, and
yeah, he's not.
And stuff.
Yeah, this is, it's weird because this was a tie into Saddam. these characters actually lived on far longer than they did in Sat AM. So, and then we have Bunny, who is Bunny Rabbot, who's my favorite so far because she's just like the Southern Belle, but she also wants to go kick ass. So she's kind of the muscle in a way. You know, she's actually kind of the strongest of them.
But she just wants to be a hairstylist.
And she wants to be a hairstylist. And then we have Antoine, who's the butt of the jokes because he's a coward.
He's a coward, and he's
a Frenchman.
Anything.
He's a French coward, and
he doesn't really have hair, I guess.
He doesn't really do anything. He doesn't have a tail. So yeah, so let's go into the first issue. So this is the first issue with the iconic cover. Now iconic, I guess it's kind of iconic, where there's all these different robots, and you can see here we have Splats from Sonic 1, but he wasn't in Sonic 1. He was a beta thing that wasn't actually in the game. So yeah, so this whole series began about 6 months after Sonic 2 released. So there's no Knuckles yet. It's like totally just, the only characters that exist in the game really are Robotnik, Sonic, and Tails. That's it. And so our first story, in the first issue, meet me at the corner of Hedgehog and Vine. So how do you feel about this story that played out? And anything?
I didn't have much thought about it. It was all right.
It's pretty boring. I don't really like it. I am amused at this. There is some funny stuff because I haven't read this in a while, and I've really, he's jealous that they're making war plans, but they're actually thinking about how to frame this map. Maybe an aluminum frame.
And they're like, oh, let's ask him what he thinks. And then he's like, oh, woe is me. And they're like, oh.
And one thing that I immediately notice is that Dave Manak, I don't really care for his art that much. It's okay.
There's a few panels where I'm like, oh, Sonic looks a little bit strange.
Yeah, Sonic looks weird sometimes. But...
Like his mouth and his muzzle and his face, I'm like, that doesn't look right sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think
that... In specific poses, it's...
Like the one where it's going up his nose or something.
Yeah, there's this weird one where he's
No, that's
falling.
later
on. Wow, okay.
So... so in this Sonic... Yeah, and friends are being beleaguered by a robotic plant that makes Little Shop of Horrors references, and is a robot.
It makes Little Shop of Horror references?
I believe so.
Where?
It says things at random like this, the Hiya Toots, which I don't know what that's about, but I'm assuming it makes Little Shop of Horrors jokes and stuff like that because it's a little plant. It's saying weird things, and I'm like, I guess. I mean, I've never actually seen it, but
it doesn't really.
It's
I would have realized, but I don't know.
Oh, so I don't know then. I guess it's just saying funny things because it's a comedy
just
thing.
A plant.
It's a plant that's saying things. I guess I don't know.
If it says something about being fed, then I would be like, oh yeah, it's a Little Shop of Horrors.
One thing that I notice is that there's a lot of use of robots from the game. Like, not only are they all over the cover, but we got Crab Meat, and we got this guy, and we got Scratch and Grounder. They're all characters from the game. So, and these guys, and the bats, and the things with the orbs around them, so these aren't the SWAT bots are around. These big things with the no fun allowed. Those things are around, but they're not as important as the game robots, which is definitely not going to be something that sticks around. So. And Robotnik, he acts like a fucking goofball.
He wants to be threatening, but it's just a goofy.
He thinks that he's scary. And he doesn't exactly act like a goof.
He does throw someone in a bin and they get crushed to death.
He's just he's comedically evil, rather than being a joke villain. Well, he is kind of a joke villain, but he's not making a joke out of himself. Yeah. He thinks that he's being cool. I don't know. But yeah, so here's this part where he's being so evil that he actually scares himself, which I thought was kind of funny. And of course, the how they save the day is that they dump water on it.
Oh, I'm gonna water this plant. It needs some water. Oh.
And it happily turns out that they're gonna have a thunderstorm that day, so all the plants die. Yep. And so there's actually this part at the beginning where he he's given this plant, and he's irate that he would have the nerve to give him a plant because he hates plants.
Nothing alive. Things can't be alive.
Yeah, it's
nothing living.
No singing, laughing, reading, cute animals dancing, and most of all, no plants. So no plants is the worst thing. And then it turns out it's a robotic plant, and then he's happy again. But then he takes credit for it by destroying the robot.
He just throws them in a bin that crushes the robot.
He just kills them all. So.
Oh well, toss.
All right. And so Sally here is obviously not in her final design because she's not like this. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't even have her jacket yet. The blue jacket. So she looks totally different from how she normally does.
She's just wearing shoes. Yeah,
this is before they've really finalized her design, I suppose.
Why is no one wearing clothes but like Antoine?
He has a belt on. He has like an action belt or whatever.
And a hat.
He has a hat on.
Whatever.
Boomer does.
Okay, Boomer.
And and then we have these bumper stickers, but I was actually very amused by this one. I'd rather be playing Sonic the Hedgehog. And I don't know why I thought that was so funny. Mm-hmm. And so the next one, you Bet My Life, which is probably the most comedic we've seen Robotnik so far, because his evil plan is to put Sonic into a pinball machine and then zap
play
him.
Pinball.
And then play pinball and zap him. Yeah, I don't know. Sonic doesn't.
Yeah,
doesn't always
sometimes
look that great.
he looks kind of off. And
I think he does pretty good Robotnik every time. Mm-hmm. And this is definitely the Sad I Am version of Robotnik rather than the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog version of Robotnik. But yeah, in general, it's just we have just comedy, goofiness. Sonic saves the day, whatever. And you may notice that he has the mohawk design.
Yes, he has a mohawk.
He doesn't. It's not like this.
No,
it's like the Japanese Sonic.
It's specifically a mohawk.
It's a mohawk, which is bizarre, but that's how they did it in every like American thing, even on the. And they also in these earlier strips they have these little like skits, like 1 page, maybe 2 page, joke strips, which are mildly amusing, I guess. So, yeah, and there's a rare appearance of Tails here at the end. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tails doesn't really do a lot.
He doesn't. He's not really in this very much.
Oh my god! I actually missed this page on my first.
Which one?
These two. I missed it.
Oh.
He actually teaches you how to make chili dogs.
Yeah, he literally teaches you how to make chili dogs.
That's funny.
And then like, wait, it needs to be funny.
Pie
in face joke.
Yeah, I don't know. Like some of the humor in this, it's all like very, very child friendly, goofy, silly kind of comedy with a little bit of slapstick. 1993
something comic thing for kids who are like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but sometimes it works, but sometimes it just like, it's a goofy comic. Whatever.
The one.
How do you feel about this cover for issue 2? Join Robotnik's Rats, which I don't really get because it's like Robotnik's Rats.
He doesn't like living things. So why does he have rats?
I don't really get this cover. It's not that good.
No.
But yeah.
But it has a rat on it.
It has a rat. It has a goofy rat on it. So what were you saying?
I don't know.
So anyway, in our second issue, is the first part is Triple Trouble, which you may know as the issue in which all of the different adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog characters, Coconuts, Scratch and Grounder. This is pretty much the most they ever get, which is another part of why I think that, and also Tails is in this a lot. So Tails is all over the place. Not to be confused with Triple Trouble the game, which would also get a special later on that we'll also check out. So whatever. But yes, Scratch, Grounder, and Coconuts.
I've never seen that character before.
Coconuts? Well, they're all from Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Coconuts was more of an ancillary villain. He wasn't in every episode or everything.
I know Scratch and Grounder, but I know him from the other Sonic show.
Yeah. I like this part. You need to go back, Tails. But why? And then you get to choose your own reason. Yeah. To let Princess Sally know about them. Because I said so. To allow the artist more room to draw.
Yeah.
That's funny. I also like this, where it's like, it's the same text box, or speech bubble, where he's talking to Scratch and Grounder, and then he strangles Scratch through the panel.
Yeah, I like when things break panels. Yeah. I think it's funny.
It's pretty funny. I don't think that Scratch and Grounder looked that good in this, but, whatever. So I don't know if this was specifically supposed to be a tie-in to Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog or what was going on, but I feel like they got their wires crossed somewhere where they thought that Sad-Am was going to be like Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, but it wasn't. So, also in the first, they had a Casino Night Zone from the game, and we don't see a whole lot of that, where they actually go to zones from the game.
They had that one that's later on in the book.
Get out your Sega Genesis, plug in Sonic 2, and get me to Casino Night Zone. Or you can just turn the page.
Yeah. There's another one where
it's the special stage?
Yeah, and he's in the special stage, and there's like the little Sega Genesis right here. Little thing is like, play here to help Sonic go through it.
A very exciting issue. Probably the most important issue that we'll ever have, which we'll get to.
Whatever. We're speaking about the playing and helping Sonic.
Yeah, and then at the end of this, there's the I Hate That Hedgehog, which is from Adventures. But yeah, not really much. I mean, there's the goofy villains.
It's just goofy.
Comedy. This page is stupid. And then, this is probably my least favorite. It's the issue with these guys in it.
That's what I was gonna say. This one, it's just like a total missed joke. I'm like,
Vertigo a go-go. The only part I really care about here is where he tells you to flip the comic book or else he's gonna run into your face. And his hands are coming out of the panel. Get some weird angles of Sonic in this, which don't look that good. But
that's what I was gonna say. In this one specifically, we see the shot up his nose.
Very strange.
And it's real. I'm like, what is it? A mustache? It's always his nostrils, but it looks just weird. And this one
bizarre.
is kind of strange.
Yeah, so I don't really know what's up with they introduced these characters.
Cal and Al.
Cal and Al,
Vertical,
who live in a mirror dimension or something, this weird alternate dimension.
They say it's like a strange special zone, secret special zone.
I don't
know.
But
it's weird.
It's just
it's just like a missed joke.
There isn't really a joke. It's just kind of here's goofy things. I feel like it was more like they didn't have any ideas, so whatever. But the weird thing is that they're like, oh, if you want to see more of us, then write in. Why would I want to see more of us?
But then they did.
And then they did.
And they
for
got
one
another
page.
panel. They got another.
Why? I don't
They're
really
not
get it.
Funny. It's not. I don't know.
I guess it's just supposed to be the Wacky Land kind of thing where strange things are happening, but he's just kind of falling.
He's just
he
falling
goes somewhere
and skidding everywhere, and then I don't know. It's not funny.
It's not really that. It's not.
And then there's this
it's not
weird
funny,
panel
where there's no colors.
Where there's no colors.
Which is it's fine with me.
I just don't get it.
I think maybe you're supposed to color it in, but I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's
close
really,
Sonic eye.
There's just not really much to it. I mean, it's why.
I didn't like it very much. I kind of skimmed through it, honestly. I was like, whatever.
Yeah, and then there's this part where
Yeah.
We got our first hint that Sonic and Sally might be an item, actually, because there's the Princess Sally pinup, and then Sonic is taking it, and he's walking away, and he says, "Don't tell Sally." And then there's the Sonic pinup, and then Sally's taking it, and she says, "Don't tell Sonic." But she looks weird because she's not her model design. But, yeah, whatever. But I guess maybe they have a thing going on, but we don't know much about that yet. And then there's this weird thing where it's like, Tails, I don't know, where did he get his tails? Or something.
Another joke. Where did he get his second tail?
I was a little bit amused by this X-Men thing where he's Professor X is like, we're not hiring this week.
Yeah.
It's a little amusing, but otherwise, yeah. And we have multiple implications that Antoine's hair is not real.
Yes, multiple, where Sonic's just taking his hair and he's just like grumble.
I believe this was retconned at some point where the hair was real, but then it was like double retconned to where like it was real, but it was ripped off at some point, and so he had to wear a wig for a while. So they had to explain that. I think it might have been partially just. I actually really like this cover for issue 3. Where it's like, we just checked the other comics on the rack. This is the one you want.
Okay, this is a specific one where I think his nose looks really freaking weird. Like, this is the one where I'm like, okay, something's really off about his face.
The nose does look weird, but I like the concept.
Yeah, but his face is just weird. Like, this is the panel I was looking at. I'm like, no, this is weird.
And they also have these corner boxes.
Yeah.
With
Robotnik,
little
and one of
joke in
them, Robotnik's like, first the corner box, then the world.
Yeah, that's issue 4, I believe.
Yeah.
So the first one in here is The Bomb Bugs Me, where there's misunderstanding. Sonic thinks that he's gonna bomb.
He's got the bomb to destroy the world.
Or not all. Every last one of them will die.
And then the world.
And then you'll blow up.
But it turns out to be a bug bomb because
It turns out to be a bug bomb, but they steal
infested
it
by
anyway.
bugs.
I do like the goofiness in this part.
This one was funny, where it was like,
where it's like they keep
I'm
taking
Robotnik,
off.
I'm Boomer, I'm Robotnik, I'm Boomer.
They keep taking off their
I know,
different
this is
the masks
all
and
over.
stuff.
I know.
That was pretty fun.
That
It's
was
like
funny.
it's like I guess they had an idea and then they just kept going on like writing whatever random thing came to their mind. It ended up being kind of funny,
It's
but
funny.
it's pretty much just mildly amusing.
They like to do these shots during serious moments. Everyone's all black
Everyone's
except for
all
their
silhouetted.
eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, and it turns out it was a bug bomb.
It was a bug bomb.
And then, okay, so here's the one.
Oh,
because
wait, hang on. Going back to this one, I think I noticed. Yeah. See how everyone has a grave? Tails doesn't have a grave. Everyone else has like and then like joke people have names, but no Tails. Tails doesn't get his own grave.
Tails doesn't get a grave, but we do get our first mention of Uncle Chuck
Yeah.
in the comic, which is Sonic's uncle with a mustache. Who appeared in Sad AM but has not even been mentioned yet.
Yeah.
We'll later
He
find
gets a
out that
grave.
he's been roboticized.
And then
Mutsky,
Mutsky?
who was Uncle
Whoever
Chuck's
that
dog.
is. Oh.
So yeah, we'll later learn that
But,
those
yeah.
were like. Actually, I believe Uncle Chuck appeared in the mini issues because there was one about the backstory, like before it all started.
But then Tails,
I believe so. Yeah.
Tails doesn't get a grave. I noticed.
Tails doesn't get a grave.
He's not important enough to get a grave.
Very sad. And let's see. Okay, so this was the joke that you probably wouldn't be able to understand because in the mini issues she was even differenter because she had blonde hair rather than black hair.
Oh, I thought it was just some joke. I was like,
No.
okay.
Specific reference, but I guess you could misconstrue it as like a joke that doesn't
Weird
really make any
joke.
sense.
I was just like,
So this is probably the best of all of these, in my opinion. There's another silhouette. Is the issue where we actually get our introduction to Bunny. Because not
It
only
seems
is something
action-filled.
happening,
It's
not only is something
something's happened.
happening, like it's not just Goofy,
it's like a story.
like we're actually getting continuity. Like things are happening that are
Like
like
something's happening.
impacting the world.
Yeah.
And Bunny, like I said, is a better character
Do they
than
get
most because
together
she's
later?
like whom?
Sonic and Bunny.
It seems like she gives up on him because she realizes that he and Sally have a thing going on. I don't know how she realizes that, but whatever. But yeah, she's like, well, anyone listening to this will probably know, but she was half roboticized, so she has robotic parts,
Robot
and
arm and like
that makes her stronger,
and legs.
and so she can fly, she can
Kick super
she
hard.
can kick super
and she's
hard.
strong.
and she's strong. So
She wants to go kick butt with Sonic.
yeah,
Sonic's like, nah,
pretty
I'm
cool.
the hero.
Pretty cool
You
that
just
we
sit
have
back.
a new character that's the muscle, you know. But she wants to be a hairdresser or whatever.
When everything's all said and done,
Then
she can be a hairdresser. No healthy food, no exercise, no laughing, no singing, no plants, no music, no books, no exercise, no friends, no pets, no fun, no healthy food.
And no complaining about my rules.
Yeah.
And you have to obey those rules. And so here's the final issue that we're going to talk about today is issue 4, which the grittier, darker Sonic.
So
Yeah,
dumb.
whatever. So this is the big one,
Is this?
pretty much. Other than Bunny,
Oh yeah.
the Lizard of Odd.
This
where
one is
there's-
important.
Well, I mean, what happens in it?
He goes supersonic.
He goes supersonic for the first time. And so yeah, there's like a salamander, and then like.
Is it really for the first time though, in general, or is it just in the comic? Because it seems like he knows exactly what he's supposed to do.
It seems like he knows what he's doing, but it's the first time it ever appears in the comic. Even in the mini issues, it doesn't show up. But yeah, basically, there's just like a giant robot salamander, I guess. Even though
Well,
it's
he
not
was
salamander,
he was a
but-
little salamander, and then they put him in the roboticizer.
It's like a gecko.
And then he's like, I'm hot. And Robotnik's like, I'm hot. And then one of the robots is like, is this the AC? And he like cranks it up. And then he's like, no, you fool. He's going to start growing uncontrollably.
And then he's like, I got to get out of here.
He's the Universe Salamander.
The Universe Salamander. And he's going to take over the world now.
Salamander is going to take over the world.
And Robotnik's like, fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah.
I can't handle this. So we get this little...
Sonic's
for
dying.
2 seconds, we're thinking maybe Sonic's dead or something.
Sonic's been eaten. Oh, no.
Oh, no. But, no.
But then,
he retreats, and he goes to the special stage, and he...
You help him.
You help him get the rings, so that he can go supersonic. And, basically, Sonic becomes really, really, really fast, because he's fast enough that he can just go back to Knothole, ask them a question, and come back. And, in the space of, like, 2 seconds. And, yeah, so the funny thing to me is that this stupid salamander thing is what inspires Sonic to go supersonic. It's not even, like, a big creature that Robotnik created. It's, like, an accident that he created. It's, like, it was, like, an act of God. It wasn't even something Robotnik did, specifically.
Yeah.
You'd think that it would be something where, you know, he's making a giant threat, it's time to get serious. But, no, it's just...
This is, like, salamander. The big bomb we're gonna make.
It's literally a Monster of the Day plot. Except this time, let's just go supersonic for some reason.
Let's go Super Saiyan.
But whatever, yeah, it's supersonic, you know. Fine.
Yep.
More stupid jokes. And then we get the
we get the weird
of Al
one,
and Cal with this
which is another
strange face.
Another.
In this last panel.
Another boring.
Another
page.
boring, nonsensical.
And then you get the Robotnik birthday card.
Robotnik birthday card. He's going to turn you into a robot, so it's a good birthday for you. And I believe there's just mini things. Oh wait, no, we get the first Tails solo adventure.
Tails solo adventure.
Where he doesn't really do anything.
Sonic is sleeping. Tails like, I'm gonna go beat everyone up. I'm gonna save the day and beat Robotnik because Sonic is sleeping.
He does kill some of the robots, and then he decides, oh, I'm super overconfident.
Now
although he says that he's not overconfident.
Destroy Robotnik myself.
I'm so strong I can take on Robotnik all by myself, and then
he immediately gets
captured. Caught.
But then Sonic's I woke up and I tailed you, Tails.
From now on, I'll look before I leap, and then he's about to fall into a hole.
Yeah.
So. And then actually we get some loop-de-loop back here with some rings on it. So more game stuff, which is probably not going to be soon. So that really wraps it up for the whole first 4 issues. There's not really much to say about them, honestly, because it's just
a lot of one-off, goofy, nothing plot.
Joke plots.
It's kind of weird to imagine there's an actual plot that's going to happen. It just seems like it's just going to always be Robotnik, and then these guys, and then there's goofy little things that happen forever.
Yeah, you're just imagining the next 20 years is just...
the same shit.
We're just going to goof around.
The same thing.
So...
maybe some new characters.
What really changes, and how quickly does it change, how quickly does it go from goofiness to whatever it becomes, we'll have to see. And so the only real things is I believe that Bunny, it wasn't really explained how she became half roboticized in the show, and she's not around for the first few issues. So she was around on the cover of the first issue, so she was definitely a thing. They knew about her. Yeah, she was from the show. But I don't think they ever had, like, an episode where they explained how she got half roboticized. This is, like, an origin story for her.
Yeah, this shows exactly. She was just do-do-do.
And I think it's funny where it's like a major part of her character, but it starts with, like, a bunch of robots, like, yeah, let's just put the thing in whatever. Yeah, fuck a Rick.
We gotta get someone.
I'm an Orioles fan. And they're making jokes and stuff. It's like...
yeah, whatever.
And then in the future, we're probably going to look back at this and be like, why is this played so nonchalantly when it's kind of a major thing for her character to be half robot. So, but whatever. And that's pretty much it. I mean, there's some weird things where Sally's not in her final design. Boomer, his name changes in the future.
In the comics?
In the comics, because it changes because that was the early name for him in the show. But then...
his name changes in the show, too?
His name
you can't just change people's names.
His name was always different in the show.
Oh.
But it was based off an early version of the show, which it hadn't been finished yet. Okay. So they didn't know exactly what Sally was going to look like. They didn't know exactly what this guy's name was going to be.
You can't just change people's names.
So his name...
And I think they actually did explain it at some point, but we'll get to that. I don't know how they explained it. I think maybe they'll say it was like a nickname or something, but
whatever.
I won't spoil what his name actually is because.
But do they mention her getting like a redesign?
I think they might.
Oh, that's a new style.
Normally she wears a blue jacket normally, but there's no jacket. She has black hair and she's like pink, which is bizarre because it's like totally different from her regular design. Absolutely different. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to really say about it. There's the first appearance of Super Sonic. Bunny is introduced as a character, and that's pretty much it. I mean, nothing else. There's the robot. You get a basic introduction to all the different characters, and then that's pretty much it. I mean, a lot of these elements are not going to be that important in the future. You know, the joke elements where it's like Krabby is his friend and Robotnik's just a goofball.
She looks weird in this panel.
She does look kind of weird.
Face.
She does look kind of weird in that panel. But yeah, so that's the first 4 issues of the Sonic Archie Comics, which would go on to be the longest running video game comic book of all time. I don't know if that's just the United States, but I believe it was ever.
Does
Including
Mega Man
manga.
have comics and stuff, right? Do they
We should actually read those because later on the Archie Comics had a Mega Man, kind of a spin-off to the Sonic ones where they did Mega Man 2. And those were actually really cool because I was obviously I'm a Mega Man fan, so those were a lot of fun. But they ended up getting canceled because of poor sales. But they did make, and they had some crossover specials with Sonic too. So
I'm not opposed to reading those too. That's fine.
When it comes to that, maybe we'll have like a side episode where we go through the first however many issues Mega Man, and we'll come back to it every so often or something like that. So I think in the future maybe we'll do. I don't know. Maybe if it's just like this, we'll just do the whole book. But when it starts
only
to
doing one volume is kind of that'd be really short.
One issue.
One, yeah.
Well, I think maybe when it gets to be more serious, let's say, maybe we move it down to 2, maybe 3 issues, depending on the situation. I'd say probably 2 is enough because there's going to be a lot going on.
Are they longer? Like, are they?
I don't know if they're physically longer, but there's going to be more going on. Like, there's all these different plots. There's continuity. There's things to keep track of. So
like one issue,
and there's like side things too. So there's going to be the Knuckles comics. There's the Tails miniseries. There's the Sally miniseries. There's the Knuckles miniseries, and I have them all in order because I wrote them down. So many years ago, back when I was in school, I started making like with all the different plot synopses and stuff.
Oh.
So, yeah. So I guess that'll be it for now. And so yeah. Again, how do you feel about comics so far?
So far, I think it's just a bunch of goofs, just laughs and goofs. It's just Sonic and his pals messing with Robotnik. That's all there is.
Nothing too serious.
Nothing too serious. It seems like. I mean, it is serious. I mean, Robotnik's everyone's living underground.
But you know, it's
there's the
taken,
threat of the world, but it's taken really lightheartedly and goofy.
It's kind of a serious situation, but they play it with
serious.
such a lighthearted tone that it doesn't feel at all serious. Like,
Even
all of
when
our friends and family are robots in Robotnik land, and they're just like under his control, and they have no autonomy anymore, and he's taken over the world. Whatever. Let's fucking go goof around.
Let's pull you on some rollerblades, Boomer, while I go do this thing.
Yeah. So the all 4 of these issues were written by Michael Gallagher. Michael Gallagher will come to know is the comedic guy. I think that he might have actually done work on Archie Comics before this. I don't know much about any of the people who worked on this, like what they were doing before it. But he definitely comes off as someone who's just goofing around. You know, he knows how to do some light children's space comedy comic books, and he applied that to Sonic, and to mixed results, not necessarily bad results. You know, I wouldn't say that this is bad.
I don't say this is bad. This is just lighthearted.
It's
fun
very
read.
light. You know, there's not a whole lot to think about. It's not a whole
Here's
lot
your joke
to,
on your panels.
Yeah,
do the
jokes.
page. Next one, different joke.
And all of them were penciled by Dave Manek, which, like I said, is not my favorite penciler. Sometimes the characters look a little weird. Robotnik always looks pretty decent.
Robotnik's pretty spot on every time.
But yeah, I think he was best at drawing Robotnik. Like,
I
Robotnik
found
always
out
looks good.
while reading these that the image I like, the no fun allowed little picture that you put.
Does Sonic have a... He has a tail, right?
Yeah.
It's not like a nub. It's like a spike, right?
It's kind of like another spike. It's a little tail.
He has like a little nub in this panel. That's funny. Here's another stylized silhouette panel.
It's
Strange.
weird.
But yeah, the no fun allowed SWAT bots.
Yes, I learned as soon as I saw these, I was like, wait a minute, is that picture from Sonic?
They are from Sonic.
It's from Sonic.
The main robotic enemies in Sad AM are the SWAT bots, and they do appear in
They're
this.
just jokesters.
They're just goofy
I like
robots.
the Orioles.
Get off me, you darn Yankee! I'm an Orioles fan. Okay, guys.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess so. That'll be it, and I guess we'll do Archives Volume 2 next.
Yeah.
Whenever we feel like it. And so that'll be it for now. Well, actually, as for my thoughts so far, I don't have any. I know exactly what's coming. I know how this isn't really going to stay around, but it's not really like, a golden age that got stomped out or whatever. But it kind of feels
moving on.
It feels very insubstantial.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't need to read this. Basically, it's only like it's the first few issues, but who cares?
The really only thing you need to see is like the bunny.
Yeah, the bunny. And I guess you
and
could,
the Salem.
I guess
Universe
you could read the
Salamander
Supersonic one, but it's not. It just has
but
Supersonic,
it's
and
not
like it's
important.
It's not like it's the first time you go supersonic, or they learn how to do supersonic, or anything like that.
It's not like he figures it out by accident. He's like, I have all the emeralds and 50 rings.
I already have the emeralds.
We're gonna go through the secret zone and do this, and now I'm gonna be supersonic.
So yeah.
It's not like some big discovery, like, whoa. Suddenly you're like, oh my god.
What are we gonna do?
Whoa. It didn't feel dire. That's it. Nothing felt dire.
Nothing felt serious. Nothing felt
feels dire.
Nothing feels like a life or death kind of situation.
Yeah. It is,
actually,
but it doesn't feel like it.
There's one moment that I like. In the first issue where the plant has taken Antoine, and he says, save yourselves. Like, leave me, save yourselves. That's the only time in the whole thing, and where he seems like a coward. You'd think he'd be like, oh, well, come and save me, help me. But he's like, no, run away.
Like,
get out of here.
Yeah.
So, a little bit of characterization, the slightest bit of characterization ever.
A little something.
Little more to Antoine than we might think.
Oh, woe is me, and vanity. Oh, vanity.
Where he's grumbling over making a vanity.
He's performing like a Shakespearean poetry.
They came up with that joke, and then they had to make a whole page out of it.
They're probably trying to make their wife's vanity like a mirror that night, and they're like, this would be a good page for our comic. And then they made it.
I suppose so.
It's something.
So yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Sonic Warpring podcast.
A Warpring podcast featuring Tango and Gator. Plague.
You said Plague.
Tango and Plague.
Not Gator. Plague. Do you have like a closing remark, like a catchphrase?
This is Plague killing your ancestors.